minute fantasy scramble starts in 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to the last minute fantasy scramble. I am Kevin McCartney. Alongside me today, Bobby Digital Janis, John Viveros, and Bud Stanio. That's right, all four of us are back and ready for an exciting show today. So before we go forward, I did want to make note. We do have a very important day coming up. That is this coming Tuesday. And it's a really big day, so you just need to make sure to know that it is the NFL trade deadline. And just some things might be happening. Some people might be moving around, so you got to make sure that you have your team in the right place. Maybe stay on the lookout for some potential people who may be moving and may change their values. But I'm not sure if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, exactly what you just said. A player's value may change. It may go up or down depending on what kind of situation they're leaving or going to. So it's very important to keep an eye on with the players that are moving. Right now, I mean, we've already seen a few moves, and it's been mostly like linemen and things of that nature. So I mean that's something to keep an eye on in terms of defenses. Quentin Williams right now. Don't know what the reason for that is because he's a pretty damn good player. But on the offensive side of the ball, the ones, I mean, this is all speculation. I mean, there are some rumors going around, but we do know that apparently the Texans are looking to shop some guys, namely their receivers and Duke Johnson. I heard apparently, but the big one is Will Fuller. We don't know where he's going to go. One rumor has him going to maybe the Packers, which would be insane. If Aaron Rodgers is throwing to Will Fuller and Devontae Adams, that's going to be like incredible if that actually happens. So that's one thing to look out for, and that also keep in mind that could Will Fuller leaving that team could affect Deshaun Watson's value. I don't think much, but it's definitely going to take him down if he doesn't have the deep threat man. Also, John Ross is looking to get out of Cincinnati. That's another one. He's asking for a trade. He's an awesome player. He's kind of in the third, fourth player role over there in terms of the receivers. Tyler Boyd and AJ Green have really shined. So, not AJ Green. He's coming back slowly, but Tyler Boyd has been like pretty much the number one guy there. So, so I mean, if he goes somewhere in the right situation, then he could probably definitely see some good work.
John, any thoughts to add to that? Any conspiracy theories you're hearing?
Nothing really. Bud pretty much hit everything. Hit everything on the head there. Between like we said, mainly about Will Fuller's the big one, the big fish at right now. For fantasy implications, I would say him going to the Packers is very real, but also Kenny Stills going to the Packers is very real as well. So Kenny, if you have the roster spot, I think Kenny Stills can do a lot of work in that as a wide receiver too in that offense. He's proven to be a solid fantasy start. Like when he does see the playing time, even early on in his Texans career, he was finding the end zone, and I think him with Aaron Rodgers could be very profitable if it does happen. So that's definitely one name to look out for as well.
All right, Bobby, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you guys touched on all of them. Again, I think the Packers in general, I think they're really serious about a Super Bowl run, of course, with Rodgers' limited window. And in the past, they've kind of failed to maybe add that big name free agent. They've always been a team that just kind of builds through draft picks. But you've got to think now, like we're hearing all these rumors about them acquiring that second receiver. I've heard even rumors about AJ Green potentially in Green Bay, but I don't know how concrete that is. But you would think that a trade, like John mentioned, the value of Fuller or Stills would definitely go up in Green Bay. And obviously the value of Aaron Rodgers, of course, I think would increase even more. So they're looking for that. The other name I heard being thrown around the last week or so has been Evan Ingram, tight end from the Giants. He is a very talented tight end. He just hasn't really had a good situation around him. So that's another name to potentially keep an eye on. Zach Ertz was also almost guaranteed to be traded at the deadline, but because of his injury now, it looks like he's going to stand pat in Philly.
All right, so before we get into this week's slate of games, do want to break down that Thursday night matchup between the Falcons and the Panthers. On paper, looked to be a really exciting one, a lot of big implications for a lot of fantasy players. Bobby, what are your thoughts on how the Atlanta Falcons played on Thursday night?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was definitely a little tougher game in terms of the circumstances with that weather. The Falcons just couldn't, they've had trouble all year scoring in the red zone, but the yards have been there. Matt Ryan getting you 17 points. He's the leader right now, even coming into this week in passing yards in the NFL. But he did kind of salvage that day with that rushing touchdown. Julio Jones, I mean, his value was a little bit lower earlier this season, battling some injuries, but he just looks like now, again, that wide receiver one that he's been for so long. So if you either held on to Julio or you acquired him, you've got to be really happy about that. 7 receptions, 137 yards. He had 85 yards in the first quarter, looking like he was going to hit that 300 mark like he did a few years back. So definitely locked and loaded wide receiver one. Calvin Ridley, unfortunately, I know Bud has him. I have him in a league. 3 for 42, but then he leaves with what looked like a foot injury. Now they're calling it potentially an ankle. They're saying it's nothing too serious, so you just have to keep tabs on that. Are they going to bring him back next week, or they're going to wait for their bye week in week 10 and bring him back week 11? Then Hayden Hurst with another solid game, 5 for 59. He was seeing the consistent targets as well. So overall, in that passing game, if you're a fantasy owner, you have to be pretty happy with it. They do have some nice matchups coming up against the Saints, and they know they play Oakland at home as well upcoming. So, and then as for the running game, we mentioned about selling on Todd Gurley, and he just, again, he did not look good, and he just shows how touchdown dependent he is. 18 carries for only 46 yards. He did fall into the end zone and get lucky with that touchdown, but something about Todd Gurley too with those situational, in those situations, late game situations with the clock. He ran out of bounds when he should have stayed in to keep that clock running Thursday night, and then the previous week we know that he accidentally scored. But Brian Hill saw a lot more run. He had 11 carries, 55 yards. He's being used in the passing game more than Todd Gurley. So, I mean, you still might want to look to sell Gurley on that front.
All right, John, what's your thoughts on the Panthers side of things?
Panthers were outside of probably Mike Davis, who, I mean, he had a good average, but he really didn't really factor much in too much of the game. I was a very, I guess outside of Curtis Samuel as well. It was a very uninspiring performance I felt from both teams, honestly. But the Panthers as well. Outside of the 2 gadget plays, you had the Curtis Samuel run for 12 yards for the touchdown, and then the flea flicker, which he did find the end zone as well. The Panthers they didn't look very good at all. Like they should have. This is a defense that they should have lit up, especially at home. And they just couldn't get anything going. Teddy Bridgewater was 15 to 23 for 176, had a pick and a touchdown before he left with that head injury. I'm still waiting to hear how on the severity of that. We saw PJ Walker of XFL fame come in, and he looked like an XFL quarterback. 1 for 4 for 3 yards, unfortunately for him. But I mean, who knows what to say? Like coming in relief is a lot different than coming in than actually like starting a game. So if we have to see him, I think that you definitely have to take down the Carolina offense a big peg, especially if Chris McCaffrey comes next week. Obviously, McCaffrey is a stud, but with no Teddy Bridgewater, I think that this offense is definitely very scary. Very, very scary to play. Like I wouldn't, outside of Chris McCaffrey, I wouldn't really play anyone if PJ Walker's the quarterback. Other than that, they were, like I said, it was very uninspiring. It was this game was poised to be a pretty good, pretty high scoring game, and it just really didn't live up to it. It was just not a very good game personally for me. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, you got that Thursday night curse. I mean, teams coming off a short week going up against each other. Even when you get a good matchup on paper like this Thursday night one was, they rarely ever pan out that way. And I did want to take a moment to talk about Curtis Samuel. He did put up a stellar performance, but it was mainly on those 2 touchdowns. Do you think someone like Curtis Samuel is someone who could be trusted in fantasy leagues going forward?
I personally don't. I mean, like outside of this game, he really hasn't had too many great performances. Really, he seems to be relegated to like that gadget play. He's very active. I will say he's very active in the run game though. They do a lot of like jet sweeps, reverses to him. He was 3 for 23 this past week, and he did have that 1 touchdown. So I wouldn't say he falls into like the touchdown dependent category, but he definitely lives and dies on the gadget plays. He's not one of their leading target getters. He doesn't see a big target share behind Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and even Ian Thomas. When Ian Thomas is heavily involved, he sees a lot as well. So I think that it just has to, if anything would happen to DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson, I think that he could bump him up to like a low end wide receiver 2, high end like a flex play. But right now, I think he might just be a stash and wait type thing.
All right, so moving into today's games, wanted to start us off with the 11 o'clock injury updates. Dalvin Cook officially is active for today's game, and they will be able to play him against the Packers. Bobby, why don't you let us know the rest of the injury news and notes for today?
Yeah, it looks like Mark Ingram for the Baltimore Ravens officially inactive. We kind of knew he wasn't going to be active. And then a lot of the other big names were ruled out on Friday. Joe Mixon ruled out. Aaron Jones ruled out. Miles Sanders ruled out as well. We know Julian Edelman earlier in the week has been ruled out, as well as N'Keal Harry for the Patriots. And then Jadeveon Clowney for the Titans is active, but he's a defensive player, so we don't really care about him. A lot of people actually had Mason Crosby, the Packers kicker, on their team, on their fantasy team as a kicker, and he was very questionable coming in, but he is active. Tevin Coleman for the 49ers has been activated, and he will play. Dallas Goedert, big name, he was on the wrong side of questionable heading into the week, but he's been activated off IR, and he has no injury designation. He will play. For those of you who were thinking about streaming Gerald Everett, Tyler Higbee is active, so they're going to kind of cancel each other out as well. Those are some key ones that I'm seeing listed here.
Yeah, and I know one of the big questions going into this game is what's going on in this Seattle running game. Now, there are 4 running backs on the squad. 3 of them have an injury designation. Still up in the air what's going on with Chris Carson, what's going on with Hyde, Homer. DJ Dallas seems to be the only one without an injury designation. Still, we haven't gotten enough news to see what's really going on with that whole situation. Will Carson start? Right now they're saying it's a 50-50 chance, but I guess we will wait and see. We will continue to update as we get more information. But before we go and break down this week's slate of games, just want to let you know our bye weeks for the week are the Cardinals, the Washington football team, Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Houston Texans. So, outside of those teams, the rest still got to play somebody, and we are going to start with Bud. Break down the Patriots and the Bills rapid fire style.
So the Patriots are missing quite a few people. Stephon Gilmore is out on the defensive side of the ball, so that might make things a little bit easier for Stephon Diggs today. On the offensive side for them, there's really nobody that's startable except like maybe James White or Cam Newton. Damian Harris is a risky play. Bill's side, Allen's kind of hard to trust. If you have somebody that's a better streamable option, you might want to get in there. But I'm rolling with
John,
Allen
let's
myself.
hear the Jets at Chiefs.
Patty Nice against a very, very, very weak Jets team. This is going to be an absolute slaughter. I hope you're betting the Chiefs hard. Start all your Chiefs players. Give me Patty Nice. Give me Le'Veon Bell for 2 touchdowns today. And Travis Kelce probably finds the end zone a couple times as well. The Jets, the only one I would consider starting, and it's a very, very deep start, would be Denzel Mims. He's going to be your X receiver this week for the Jets. He might find his first career touchdown. The only one, and that's if you need something really, really, really deep.
It is Tua time in Miami. Rams, Dolphins. Bobby, let's hear it.
Yes, it is. Rams coming off a short week on Monday Night Football, traveling to the East Coast. Sean McVay still insisting on getting Malcolm Brown involved, which limits Henderson to a volume-based RB2. Woods and Kupp can be played as wide receiver 3s this week. I don't trust Goff as a streamer. As for Miami, besides Myles Gaskin, everyone else is really just a wait and see to see how Tua responds against this defense. But tons of upside here, potentially.
All right, bud. The next game is the Titans at the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's hear it.
So you kind of hope to see if the Titans can bounce back after they lost to the Steelers last week. But yeah, you got to start all your guys here. Tannehill's still been playing pretty good. Game script's probably going to lean in Derrick Henry's favor a little bit. The weather is like really bad. So, but you want to start your receivers, your A.J. Browns, your Jonnu Smith. Bengals
John,
side.
we have Raiders at Browns.
This one is going to be a huge shootout. I love the way how this Las Vegas team plays. They love to air it out, especially to Henry Ruggs. Josh Jacobs looking for a heavy workload as well. On the Browns side, they played pretty well. They may not be as good as that 5-2 record says, but hey, they're 3-0 at home as well. Start Baker Mayfield, start Jarvis Landry, and look for Higgins to have a huge game with no more Odell in the mix. Harrison Bryant, sneaky good.
We got the Colts.
play.
We got the Lions. Bobby, let's hear what you got.
Home teams or dome teams. This is the two run-heaviest teams, one of the most run-heaviest teams, both of them in football. I love Jonathan Taylor. Hopefully over the bye week, the Colts decide they want to get him more involved. Outside of Taylor, nobody else I'd want to start. You could consider Trey Burton. As for the Lions, they are also a run-heavy team, but you still could start Swift as a low-end running back 2 with upside, and Galladay as a high-end wide receiver 2 with a tough matchup versus Xavier Rhodes.
All right, bud. You have the Vikings. You have the Packers. Let's hear it.
Dalvin Cook is going to play, so get him in. Also looking for big games for Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. I think it's going to be pretty good. Packers side, Aaron Rodgers is going to ball out like he normally does. Jamal Williams is probably going to have a really good game. And the game script is looking that way again. Apparently, you're supposed to be seeing winds of 50 miles per hour in Green Bay.
All right, John, we got the Steelers at the Ravens.
Best rivalry in football. Don't at me. We got some hard-nosed football coming at you. A lot of running involved. James Conner, Lamar Jackson, no Mark Ingram. Look for Gus the Bus to have a huge game as well. I like the Steelers today on the road. Not really sold yet on this Ravens team, but we'll see. Lamar hasn't lost to too many teams not named the Chiefs or the playoffs. Look for Malcolm Brown to get involved heavily as well. Looks to get off his little slump that he's been in this season.
All right, Bobby, we got the Chargers at the Broncos. Go.
Justin Herbert has just been on an absolute tear since he started in week 2. He is a top 5 fantasy quarterback since then, and you start him even against a tougher matchup at Denver. Love Keenan Allen rest of season as a wide receiver 1 in PPR. You could get away with Justin Jackson in a PPR league as a flex option or a bye week fill-in. As for the Broncos, not excited about this offense at all. Potential Melvin Gordon revenge game. Phillip Lindsay expected to play, however, they may split touches. You could also roll out Noah Fant. Everybody else on Denver, avoid.
All right, bud. The Saints are marching into Chicago. Saints and Bears.
They're marching into Chicago without any wide receivers. So Michael Thomas is out. Manny Sanders is still out. The expectation is that they're going to be back next week. So you're pretty much screwed there. Kamara, Breeze is probably a risky start. Bears side, Allen Robinson is going to play, so you might want to make sure that he's back in your lineup.
Seahawks. John, let's hear it. 49ers at Seahawks. John, let's hear it. And John is still muted, so we have another rivalry game between the 49ers at the Seahawks. We got
Right
situation. There he is.
49ers, Seahawks. Should be a great game in Seattle this afternoon. 49ers are 3-0 on the road. Seattle's 3-0 at home. Something's got to give. I'm not.
And that's got to give. Bobby, Sunday Night Football, Cowboys, Eagles, more rivalry. Let's go.
Will Ben DiNucci save the Dallas Cowboys season? Absolutely not. Decimated on the offensive line. Eagles, stack all your Eagles in this one. Expect domination. Wentz running the ball more now. He's a top 5 option. Love Boston Scott. Love their receivers with Fulgham and Rager coming back. Love Dallas Goedert as well. As for the Cowboys, you still have to start Zeke and Cooper. I would bench everybody else and temper the expectations in a blowout here.
All right, bud. Close it out strong. We got Monday Night Football. Bucks at Giants.
Blowout. That's what this game is. The Bucks are going to absolutely thrash the Giants, and that's still without Antonio Brown, who apparently is looking very great. That'll be next week. But Ronald Jones is going to have a good game like usual. Probably expect to see a little more Lenny Fournette. Mike Evans, you might want to get in there. I do believe Godwin is out.
That is time. Man, that was a fun one. Especially learning all about those 49ers and Seahawks matchup. But, John, I'm going to start with you. You got any more to say about either that game or any of those games that stood out to you in particular?
Little technical difficulties on my part today. I'll talk a little bit more about the 49ers Seahawks. I do like this game a lot. I think it's going to be a fantastic game personally. Even though normally, in years past, this would be more of a defensive struggle. Seattle having not one of the better defenses this year. So I think that we're going to see a good bit of Jimmy G air it out a little bit. Whatever's going on in that San Francisco run game. Tevin Coleman is active, last I heard as well. So, and they were slowly like working him back in. So Hasty and Coleman should have a nice heavy dose, but definitely look for the passing game for both teams to work fairly well today.
Yeah, we actually got a lot of rivalry games this week going on. We got the Vikings at Packers. We got that game that you're talking about. The other one, Ravens and Steelers, that you brought up. Bobby, whether those games or something else, what game would you like to take a little bit closer look into?
Yeah, I mean, we can look into that Steelers and Ravens game. I mean, John, I'm with you. You know, it's one of the best rivalry in the game, especially, you know, this year, seeing as, you know, the Ravens have come off such a dominant season last year, and now this year the Steelers are the only undefeated team left, and they're looking really good, yet the Ravens are coming off a bye week. And again, this is what, you know, we got to see this from Lamar Jackson. He's dominated throughout the regular season. He's dominated the lesser teams, but it's against the Chiefs, like John mentioned, and the playoff teams. And this is going to be a playoff-like game. I mean, it's a division rivalry, and I know there's not fans in the stadium, but these are rivals. You're going to feel the intensity. It's going to feel like a playoff game. It's the marquee game of the 1 o'clock hour, or of the 1 o'clock slate. And this could go either way, in my opinion. I mean, this could go as a defensive battle, which both teams have very good defenses, but it can also, I think it could be also high scoring. Because, you know, Pittsburgh, even though they of course have a great defense, they've been beatable through the air. Like John mentioned about Marquise Brown, potentially this could be finally his game to have a big one, especially without Mark Ingram. Maybe they too try to go to the air a little bit more. And then obviously Roethlisberger right now is clicking with those three talented wide receivers. So, you know, this one could go either way. There's a lot of different outcomes here on the spectrum, and it's just going to be a really fun one to watch as a football fan.
All right, Bud, any games that you want to take a closer look into?
I mean, these guys pretty much hit it good. Those are the games I'm kind of looking forward to. Otherwise, yeah, 49ers Seahawks looks pretty good. We're entering a lot of divisional play right now. A lot of these teams are playing hard against each other. It's always the case. And that whole division is insane. The 49ers, Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Rams. So it's like it's anybody's game. And I mean, the Seahawks are probably pretty upset about that loss to the Cardinals, especially after all the performances that happened there. So I mean, I would expect the offense to be pretty firepowered. The run game, we don't know what's going on with. If it looks like it's going to be DJ Dallas, he was awesome in college, but I mean, we haven't even seen him do anything here yet. So he's a really super risky start. I saw a lot of people picking him up. I almost did it because I'm really weak at running back in one league right now, but I stayed away just because we don't know. And if Homer gets in, it's another guy. He's also a good running back, but again, we don't know. I think they're going to air it out more because, I mean, that's just their bread and butter. So, I mean, we could see what's going to happen with that. And the 49ers are slowly getting healthier on the defensive side of the ball. So there's no telling what they're going to do against that. And you kind of hope that you could see one of these running backs, go crazy. I mean, Wilson's on IR now. McKinnon's has, quote, tired legs, whatever the hell that means. So we only, people started him last week and he did nothing. So it's, you kind of hope that those guys could get going and get moving again.
Got some breaking news actually for you guys. Sorry, it's slight fantasy implications for next week. It's gonna be Gardner Minshew will be inactive, so interesting to see. So maybe Mike Glennon or this rookie Jake Luton could be one to maybe get a quick stash if you really need a quarterback playing the Texans. Not a pretty favorable matchup. Just something to look out for next week.
Yeah, I'm good. All right, so moving into your questions, we are going to start with Christian, who asks the big question: tight ends, standard, Tanyan or Andrews? John, I'm going to start it off with you.
I'm starting Andrews. I love Mark Andrews. I think he will bounce back, especially with like I said, coming off a bye and everything. I do think that they're I think that Baltimore will start clicking, and like Bud was saying, playoff atmosphere. So we're gonna see what they're made of, and I think Lamar in this offense bounces back. So I'm going Andrews this week.
All right, Bobby. James says, I need to start too. Belle, Beasley, Scotty Miller, or David Montgomery?
Well, this is a PPR league. I definitely, I'm really excited about Le'Veon Bell this week. The revenge game I think is a very real thing within this situation, and I think Kansas City's going to be well in control of this game, and I think they're going to get Bell involved. So I think I'm going to toss Bell in that lineup, and I'm going to still go with Montgomery, only because he is seeing running back one usage, and he is seeing targets in the passing game. He has averaged 5 receptions since Terry Cohen's been out. So if it's a PPR league, Montgomery's going to get you that solid floor. If it's a standard league, I would still stick with Montgomery, seeing as he's the running back as well. But again, don't expect too much from him, but I would go with Bell and Montgomery there.
All right, Bud. We have Joe who asks Williams or Scott.
Oh, that's a toughie right there. I think Williams is probably going to have a better day than Scott. I still expect Scott to have a good day, so you can't go wrong with whoever you start in this situation. I do think that the game script is going to go a little better towards Jamal Williams. Either if the weather is going to be a factor and they're going to run the ball more than they're going to throw it, or if the Packers get ahead early and then they're going to run the ball to try to kill some clock. So Jamal Williams, we know, is getting the lion's share of the carries. A.J. Dillon only got like 3 or 4 carries last week. So, yeah, I would probably go Williams in this case.
All right. John, this next question is for you. Jake asks, Galladay, Jacobs, Deontay Johnson. Pick 2.
So hold on, it was Galladay, Deontay Johnson. Who are the other 2?
Just Jacobs.
Are we talking Josh Jacobs?
I'd assume so.
Okay, yeah. So definitely starting Josh Jacobs this week, and give me Kenny Galladay just for the star power. It is a tough matchup against that Indianapolis defense, but I think at the end of the day, you got to start your studs. You always got to start your good players. So I think you go Josh Jacobs and whoever I just said, Kenny Galladay.
All right, Bobby. Max asks, Belle or Henderson?
Yeah, I'm still going to go with Bell here again. I love the matchup, and I just still don't trust Henderson. I don't trust, not because of Henderson himself. He is PFF's number 2 graded running back throughout the season, Pro Football Focus. So he's not the problem. He looks great out there. They still insist on using Malcolm Brown for 50% of the snaps, and Cam Akers, you never know. I mean, with this committee, you never know. He could just start playing as well. So because of that, limiting his upside, and because of Bell's matchup, I'm gonna go with Bell here over Henderson.
I think this is going to be a lot of Bell questions this week, guys.
Yep.
All right, Bud. Paula asks, John Brown or Darius Slayton?
Man, it's kind of dicey for both. I would probably lean Slayton in this case. John Brown has missed the last few weeks. We don't know exactly what kind of shape he's in, and he's good when he plays. But I mean, we don't know if he's 100% yet, and I think that the Giants are going to be playing from behind, so they're probably going to throw the ball a lot more. Slayton probably has the opportunity to break off some bigger plays, and if you're in a PPR league, I'd say he's probably going to get a lot more work than John Brown would. All
right, John. Pick 2. Allen Robinson, Juju, or Landry?
Ooh, that's tough. Definitely going Landry. Again, I'm really not a fan of the Cleveland offense. I don't trust Baker Mayfield, but I think they do have a very advantageous matchup against Vegas. Vegas has shown they like to get into shootouts, regardless of who you are. So I think Cleveland's gonna have to throw the ball a little more, and I think Landry and Higgins are both gonna pop off. And then I am liking Allen Robinson a little bit. Like I said, that offense is kind of meh, but Allen Robinson, he's one of the most targeted receivers in football. Coming off his injury, should be healthy. Last I heard, so I like Robinson and Landry today.
All right. This next question is for Bobby. Ian asks, I need 2 out of these in half PPR. Slayton, T.Y. Hilton, Hasty, or DJ Dallas?
Wow. If Hilton was playing a later game along with the others, then it'd be easy. You could just wait for the injury reports in Seattle, because I think that if Carson is ruled out, and I think if Homer is ruled out, I think you definitely play DJ Dallas there. But I'm gonna go with Slayton and Hasty here. Slayton, like from the reasons Bud talked about, and again, it's half PPR. Hilton, you just can't trust right now. And as for Hasty, he clearly looks like the best back in San Francisco with Mostert out, and you would think Kyle Shanahan would at least see that and would at least give Hasty a decent workload. And the upside there is too great to ignore. So I would go with Hasty and Slayton, but that's a close one.
All right, Bud. Derek asks, McKinnon or Gus Edwards?
Dang, man, some of these questions are tough. It's making me think too much right now.
Hey, you
yeah,
got an hour extra sleep.
Yeah, not really. So I don't know. Yeah, McKinnon, as I said earlier, didn't really perform the expectations, and apparently he's on the tired legs. So, and Hasty has stepped into that role and kind of taken some snaps. So, kind of worry if it's going to be a split or whatever. It's one of those situations I'm trying to avoid, and so it's the same thing with Baltimore. I think Edwards is going to get a lot of carries. I mean, even when Mark Ingram was there, he was getting like a decent amount of carries, but he is going against a tougher run defense. I mean, you can roll the dice with McKinnon or go with Edwards. I would probably lean Edwards in this case. Of course, I'm biased. I'm a Hurricanes fan, so I like those guys. But I mean, he's just a pure like muscle back though. So J.K. Dobbins is probably going to get some work also, but he's going to be more in a pass catching role. But if you're in like a standard league, Gus Edwards might be a little more ideal in this case. But I'm leaning Edwards here.
All right, so this next question is from Zeb, and this one is for John. Deontay Johnson versus the Ravens or Cooper Kupp versus the Dolphins?
Oof, that's tough because I'm actually starting Cooper Kupp this week myself. But I think after last week's performance, I mean, I think we almost have to say Deontay Johnson, right? Ravens haven't really proven to be too great, and Deontay Johnson performed super well. Ben seemed to be the receiver of the week for Ben. It's close, but I think I lean Johnson here just because of the production from the Rams receivers hasn't been great, mainly from Jared Goff not being actually accurate.
All right, Bobby, the second question from Derek asking, Evan Ingram or Rashard Higgins?
Oh, yeah, well, I guess this must be for your flex. I'm going to go with Higgins. I'm with John. I think this could be a shootout, and I think Higgins is going to see a lot of targets in this game, and he produced last week once Odell Beckham Jr. went out. So I'm going to go with Higgins here. I just can't trust Ingram. I don't like the Giants matchup this week, and usually when it comes to a flex, if it's a skill position like a running back or receiver as opposed to a tight end, I'm most likely going to side with the running back or receiver anyway. So all of that, give me Higgins.
All right, Bud. This one comes from Fro, who asks, pick one full PPR, Rojo, AJ Green, Rager, or Deontay Johnson. And I know in the past we've given him some questionable advice about Deontay Johnson, so this is our chance to make up for it.
I mean, yeah. You said Rojo, AJ Green,
Rager, or Deontay Johnson.
Fade Rager. That's out. Man. Fade AJ Green. I pretty much boil it down to Rojo. or Deontay Johnson.
It is
Deontay
PPR
Johnson
if that
is
helps your decision.
yeah. I think Rojo's probably going to get a lot more volume. I mean, we've seen that he's been getting a lot of work, but yeah, Deontay Johnson is healthy, and I mean, this is gonna be a wild game. We're pretty much expecting it to be, and Ben Roethlisberger never takes his foot off the gas, right? So, I would probably start Deontay Johnson in this case. So, go for it.
All right. So, John, Lois asks Jackson or Herbert.
Ooh, this is tough. Obviously, I mean, as much as I want to say Herbert, everyone knows I love Justin Herbert. He's hands down probably my favorite rookie from this class. I mean, he's got a very
Just
very
wait
good
until
matchup
1
this week.
o'clock. Just wait until 1 o'clock when it's 2 a time.
yeah, whatever. Don't even get me started on Tua. No, but anyway, I think Herbert has a fantastic matchup, but at the end of the day, you have to start the reigning NFL MVP in a game that he basically has to show us all and show the rest of the NFL, honestly, that he's back. I think you have to start he was number 1 quarterback last year. He's at his best, he's a top 3 quarterback or in fantasy football. So I think you have to start Lamar Jackson.
Can I jump in real quick? Just to harp on what you said exactly. I heard on whatever radio thing I was listening to yesterday, and somebody had the same question. And if you got Lamar Jackson and you paid the premium to get him, why are we doing this? Like it happens every year, and consistently, if you look, the people that are in the bottom of fantasy leagues are the ones that are making these decisions. It's like, yeah, Justin Herbert is like kicking ass. We love it, right? But Lamar Jackson is going to play a very important game. He's had a week of rest, and you probably got him in the 2nd or 3rd round. Why would you not? Why is that guy going to ride your bench? You have to go with it. Now, if he like throws a dud, then you can consider making changes next week. But you got to roll with these guys.
Honestly,
or better yet, trade one.
Trade him. That's exactly what I was going to say.
That
like
too.
If you're in such a poor, like if your mental frame, like with Lamar Jackson, with any of your top picks, is so, like, if you're thinking about benching, if you're ever thinking about benching one of your top 3 picks that wasn't, and he's not injured, you should just trade him and just like try to get something that you need, because there's a chance that they have some value. Like, I mean, I'm sitting on Zeke, Mixon, Jones in one league. They were all 3 of my picks, and I'm looking to trade them more than I am to not start them. Like, because they're in my lineup, but if I was ever to trade anyone, which I've been chopping them around, like it's one or the other. Like you should never be in that decision to ever bench one of your studs, especially someone with the caliber of Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely, right. I'm with you.
Bobby, get your pen and paper out for this one.
Oh
here
boy.
we go.
Pick 1, standard. Dobbins, Swift, Coleman, Hasty, Kelly, Josh Jackson, Lamar Murray. Wait.
Dobbins, Swift, Coleman, Hasty.
Latavius Murray.
I was like, yeah, Lamar Murray. That's not a player.
Okay, so I got Dobbins, Swift, Coleman, Hasty, Murray.
Jackson.
Justin Jackson. Okay. And this is how many do we need? 1?
Yes, pick 1.
This sounds like fun. Look, with San Francisco, whoever that number 1 running back's going to be is going to be a baller, but we don't know who it's going to be. And you can't risk waiting to the closer to the game. Maybe they'll see if any reports come out like, oh, this guy's starting, or Coleman's going to be used in an emergency only or whatever. So because we don't know, and because those are the late games anyway, I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift. I think he has the most opportunity here. Even though it's a standard, I'd still go with Swift here in that situation.
All right, bud. Klein asks, Cup or Carson in the flex? Also, can plug Fournette if Carson doesn't go. Full PPR.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Even if Carson does play, I'm still really like nervous to start him, because he's probably going to be on a limited count there. So
And another thing on top of that, sorry to interrupt, but
mhm.
whoever does end up starting for Seattle still has to go up against the number 2 ranked rushing defense of the San Francisco 49ers. So they're up for a tough matchup, whoever it is. And if you're injured on top of that, that's scary. You can continue.
Yeah, no, exactly what you said. I talked about this earlier. Their defense is slowly regenerating themselves, and they're getting back to form. So I mean, we're gonna see a tough game for Seattle on the ground, and they're probably gonna air it out. I mean, honestly, Fournette is probably a deeper league flex play, I'd say. He's going to get some work. They've talked about it a little bit, but I mean, I like Cup a little bit better. He's definitely going to get some receptions. I think him and Bobby Forrest are going to just get a ton of receptions today against the Dolphins. But I mean, everybody's a little nervous on him, but I go that route, honestly.
All right, John. Andrew asks Green or Aguilar?
Oof. I think you go Aguilar here. But that's tough though. AJ Green is like it's just a matter of which AJ Green you get. I feel like Aguilar, if healthy, I think that's going to be a huge shootout. And as far as I'm aware, he is healthy. So I'm not. Yeah, I think I go Aguilar. I lean Aguilar. It's close. Like I'm not happy about it, but I'll lean Aguilar against Cleveland just because like I think it's gonna be a shootout, and I think Derek Carr is gonna carve him up.
All right, John. We have Tim who asks. Wait, John, you just answered that.
I just answered, yeah.
Bobby. Sorry, not enough sleep last night. Traquan Smith, Justin Jackson, McKinnon, or Shepard?
Smith, Justin Jackson, McKinnon, or Shepard. Give me Justin Jackson here. I do not like that Giants matchup at all. McKinnon, who knows what they're going to do. I don't trust him one bit. And the Saints, Smith might be their best receiver available on the roster, but they got a tough matchup in Chicago. I think it's a heavy dose of Kamara and Murray. Give me Justin Jackson, who is now healthier than last week, and I think he's going to see the majority. He's going to be the majority holder in this backfield, and that proves more valuable than the rest of your options. So go with Justin Jackson.
All right, bud. Jesse asks Justin Herbert or Josh Allen?
Oh. So now this is a more discussable, is that a word, thing here for starting the quarterbacks. Just because Josh Allen really hasn't done a whole lot in the last 3 weeks. But even though he didn't score a touchdown last week, he rushed a lot and he threw still over for 300. So if your league is paying premiums for extra yardage or anything like that, I mean, Josh Allen is still a good start in my opinion. But typically we know that he struggled against the Patriots. So we wonder if this is the week that goes away, right? But Justin Herbert, again, he's had a good few games. So I don't know. I probably lean Herbert here just in the case, just because Josh Allen typically struggles against the Patriots and the weather is trash. So.
All right. This next question goes to John. Dylan asks Montgomery or DeAndre Swift PPR.
Oof. PPR. I think, yeah, I definitely lean Montgomery here, just because I think that Saints defense is a little bit easier matchup, and I'm not completely sold on Swift, mainly, and also to like that Indianapolis defense is no joke. Like they're a very serious defense that I feel like no one's really talking about. And Swift has also shown that he's very touchdown dependent. He's not seeing a lot of the volume, a lot of the carries that you'd expect. So I think that his point totals are going to taper down as he sees less carries, because he's compared to the other running backs in the system. So I like Montgomery, especially at home.
All right, Bobby. Casey asks, what do we think about Carson? Got to decide on him or Perrine.
Oh man, if those are your only two options, I think
Don't
I'd play
start a
safe
running
and go-
back.
What's that?
If those are your only options, just leave running back blank.
Yeah, I would too. I would go with Perrine, not because he's the better option, but because I don't personally believe Carson's going to play. Based on the nature of his injury is very similar to Joe Mixon's injury, and I know Carson's a tough player and he plays through a lot, but he hadn't practiced all week, and Pete Carroll's always overly optimistic, saying, "Oh, he'll be a game-time decision, whatever." But I wouldn't bank on Carson playing, and I would just go with Perrine. Hopefully, he gets 10 to 13 touches like he did last game, and maybe he gets some receptions in a negative game script, and play it safe.
All right, bud. Are you ready for this one?
Oh boy.
No.
All right, so if anyone else wants to jump in, feel free to. But Matthew says, PPR, need one running back, one receiver, and one flex. We got Fulgham versus Dallas. Ayuk, I could never pronounce this guy's name. Ayuk versus Ayuk at Seattle. Higgins versus Tennessee. Henderson at Miami. Swift versus Indy. Jackson at Denver. Anyone want to tackle this?
Give me Fulgham. I like that guy a lot.
All right, that's a receiver. Bobby, want to take a running back out of that group?
Yeah, that's really, those guys are all back to back in the rankings here. I'll go with Henderson, only because the matchup's the best out of all three of those guys. So I'll take Henderson out of the running backs.
All right, John, take us home with the flex.
I'm a big fan of Brandon Ayuk. I talked about him in our last week in our on Tuesday. I've talked about him a lot over this season. I think that he has shown that his skill set is going to be good. Especially he's going to take over for Deebo Samuel, who is injured as well. And obviously Seattle is the worst passing defense in the league. Still with no Jamal Adams as well. So I like Ayuk as the flex with high upside.
There you go, Matthew. We just set your lineup. All right. So moving back, I think Bud started that off. So Bud, Brittany asks, Higgins or Fulgham standard?
Ooh.
Oh, standard. I still like Fulgham. He's balled out in like the last 3 weeks. He's pretty much clearly the number one guy there. And now he's going to get a little more separation because you have Goddard back, you have Rager back, Ward's still there. So now, if he faces a lot of man-to-man coverage, those are matchups that he can win. But I definitely like Fulgham.
All right, John. PPR, Allen Robinson, Tyler Boyd.
Actually, in a surprise, I'm gonna take Tyler Boyd here. They're both great options. Don't get me wrong, but I think that Tennessee has shown that they're more that defense is a little weaker, and I do like Tyler Boyd this week.
All right, that one was for me. All right, so this next one, Bobby Raphael asks, start Jonnu Smith or Corey Davis, half PPR.
I'm going to go with Corey Davis here. Again, I always like to prefer the receiver or the tight end in a flex spot. And I think there's going to be some points here in this game. Cincinnati's defense obviously is very beatable. Ryan Tannehill has just been on a tear. He even had a solid game against Pittsburgh last week. So while Derrick Henry is always going to eat, and he will eat a lot this game, I'm liking Corey Davis here over Jonnu.
All right, Bud. Devontae Parker or Rashard Higgins. Also need to bench one. These are a lot of names. I'll let you answer the first part first. Parker or Higgins?
Yeah, so Parker is probably a little more on the downside with Tua being there, just because we don't know how it's going to go. If we saw more of Tua, then we really would be able to. I probably would go Higgins in this case, just because that dude's been balling out a little bit. Parker is normally I would say a clear starter. If it was Fitzpatrick, I'd probably go him. But until we see what Tua does, I'm I'm probably a little skeptical on that. So I go Higgins.
All right, so let's see here. John, also, I need to bench one. Taylor, Fulgham, Jefferson, or Williams?
Taylor, which Williams are we talking here? Is that Jamal Williams?
Yes.
Um,
Taking a guess.
Taylor, Fulgham, Jefferson, Williams. I think you start Jefferson still. He's solid enough. Fulgham you start as well. I'm going to assume that's Jonathan Taylor. I do like him. He's got a great matchup this week as well. But, that's a toss-up, though.
You're benching one of the
think
four.
I'm benching one of those. It really comes down to which matchup you're more comfortable with. Are you more comfortable with against Jonathan Taylor against the Lions, or are you more comfortable with Williams against the Vikes? I think right now I like Williams against the Vikes more, especially with how awful the weather is going to be. So I think it's going to be a very heavy run game. So I think I'm reluctantly benching Taylor, but it's super close.
All right. So we have time for just a few more questions. Bobby, Sarah asks, risk starting Carson over Jefferson or Woods?
No. I mean, if we're not going to – I already mentioned why when it was between Carson or Pirine. So, obviously, Woods and Jefferson are much better options. So, no, I'm going to start one of those two instead of Carson. I don't think he's going to play. Again, I think he's on the wrong side of questionable here, especially since Jefferson and Woods are viable options as opposed to Pirine, and I would still bench Carson in that situation. So, yeah, it's clear. You start Jefferson and Woods. Keep Carson on your bench.
All
and
right.
I'll eat it. I'll be willing to eat it if Carson does play.
All right. Bud, Chris asks, start Jackson at Steelers or Burrow at Titans? And, yeah, you keep getting these questions. But I think this one's a clear one for you. But
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah, man. We said it earlier, and Jackson is definitely the guy here. You got him. You got to use him. He definitely has the potential to step up and make this a winning game, and otherwise he's going to keep it close. So I mean, yeah, you drafted him there, start him, Jackson.
all right, got one more question for each of you, starting with John. Eagles against Cowboys defense or Ravens against Steelers? We're talking defenses now.
Defenses. You guys know how I feel about defenses and kickers. Give me the matchup. I'll take the Eagles.
All right. So just two more questions. Bobby, full PPR, need one to flex. Parker, Beasley, or Goddard?
Give me Parker, Beasley. Got it. See, the thing is with Parker, it's very much of an unknown with Tua, and he is going to be shadowed by Jalen Ramsey. And Goddard, I think, looks good coming off his injury, but they have a lot of other options there. So I'll go with Cole Beasley. He's been a reception monster, especially since it's PPR. And so I'm liking Beasley. He's had a solid role here. Going to get that easy 10, 12 points, solid floor. I'll take Beasley.
All right, Bud, last question for you. Jimmy asks, with bad weather, Mark Andrews or CD Lamb?
Bad weather aside, CD Lamb is probably not a good option because he has the third stringer throwing to him. What's his name?
Denunzio, I think it is. Something like that.
Danucci.
Danucci, yeah.
Yeah, so Mark Andrews is a tight end one. So, I mean, you definitely got to start him there. The weather aside, it's gonna be a tough game. I know that sometimes Mark Andrews is touchdown dependent, but I mean, you still got to start him. He's a good tight end. And I mean, and that's not to say CeeDee Lamb might not have a bad game. He might blow up. Who knows? Danucci might hook him up, and they might have good chemistry. But still, I mean, more reliable. You gotta go with Andrews here.
All right, so that's about all the time we have for questions. Now we want to get into our last segment of the show where we take our breakout players of the weekend. For our Thursday night game, we all picked breakout players, and most of them did really bad. But with the exception of Bobby's choice of Hayden Hurst. And for those of you who don't know, the way we do our breakout players, we take the ESPN's PPR projections and choose one player each who we think is going to go above their projections. So, Bobby, for this slate of games this weekend, who are you starting it off with? Who is your breakout player of the weekend?
We all of us talked about this 49ers Seahawks game. It's going to be a very exciting game. Seahawks have tons of injuries in their secondary. Both teams question mark at running back. Could be a lot of airing out. So thereby, I will go with Jimmy GQ as my breakout player. He's projected 18 points. I think he throws multiple touchdown passes and hits his ceiling. In games last year where he's been in shootouts, he's produced very well in fantasy. So this is a week where I think you want to have Jimmy G in your lineup. I'll take Jimmy.
All right, Bud, who's your choice for the weekend?
Just because his projection is so low, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go Gus Edwards. He's only
Gus the bus.
Yeah, man. He's only projected for 6 points. So I definitely think he exceeds that being the workhorse there today.
So do you think that Gus Edwards will do better than DJ Dallas asking for a friend?
Nah.
In my opinion, yes. Just because Gus Edwards has been doing this a little bit longer. I think even he's getting carries and he's still getting work even when Ingram was there. So if the volume is there, might as well go for it. And with 6 points, yeah, I think he's definitely going to crack that. I'm not saying he's going to get like 20 points or anything, but I hope he
do have tough defenses to go against, but we are drifting away a little bit. John, who's your pick for breakout player of the weekend?
I mentioned him earlier. It's a super deep one, and I guarantee you there's very few people that will actually be starting him. But I'm going with Denzel Mims from my Jets. The Jets this past week showed a lot. They showed a lot of stuff with motion against Buffalo with his new Dowell Loggins offense. Mims operating as the X receiver. He out of college, they weren't really sure what you could do with him. But he's definitely shown he knows how to run different routes. He's pretty good with his hands as well. And the Chiefs give up a lot of yardage between the 20s. So I think that the Jets might be able to exploit that a little bit. Not saying they're gonna score a ton of points. Not saying they're gonna even come close to winning, because they are definitely not. But I think Denzel Mims can definitely beat that 9.9 projection that he has.
Wow, how biased going with your team, the Jets. I'm going to do the same. And for the Miami Dolphins, I am not going Tua, but I'm going to go with who I believe will be his security blanket in his debut. The Rams are going to apply pressure. They're going to shut down the receivers, but they are going to leave the tight end open, and I am seeing a big game out of Mike Gesicki myself. And that is why he's my pick for the breakout player of the weekend. As far as that goes, that pretty much wraps us up for today. Thank you all for coming in and asking your questions. I'd love to be able to answer them each week. Stay tuned. We go live every Sunday. We put out a show on Tuesday, and we're always here to answer your fantasy questions. Please make sure to subscribe. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube, Twitch, everywhere you can think of. Search Last Minute Fantasy Scramble. You're sure to find us there. All right, as for Bobby Digital Janice, John Viveros, Bud Stanio, I'm K-Mac. Thanks for listening, and we will see you on Tuesday.